TommyInnit is one of the fastest growing content creators on the internet right now. He is widely known for being completely obsessed over a pair of music discs, while playing on the Dream SMP to broaden the horizon. Today, we're going to be looking into the history of TommyInnit, from the date he joined the SMP until now, his death. I know, it's terrible. He was so young. Anyways, before we get into the video, if you enjoy what you're watching, then please do consider subscribing, as it's free and only a small percentage of you that watch are actually subscribed. Also, I have a Twitch! If you enjoy my content and you're looking for more, then please go check out twitch.tv/LukeCraig. I stream over there 4 times a week, so it would be really nice to see more of you. Other than that, let's get into the history of TommyInnit. Enjoy.
Oh my God! I'm leaving! Get down! Everyone is amazing!
This is it. This is the end.
Tommy joined the Dream SMP on July 4th, 2020. Before he first set foot on the server, it was a quiet place and was only intended for some survival with friends. However, little did Dream know that inviting Tommy to the server would change everything for not just Dream, Tommy, and other members of the server, but thousands of people across the globe. Tommy joining created an entire new way to look at Minecraft that not really many people knew about, and that was roleplay. Now, I know what you're thinking. Roleplay already existed before the Dream SMP, Luke. What are you waffling on about? Well, yes, it did. However, we didn't expect it to be in a block game we grew up playing and to make so many people hooked to this extent. Anyways, you may be wondering, how does one child do such a thing? Well, that's a brilliant question, and you're about to find out. Tommy's first day on the SMP definitely could have gone better. Within the first hour, he already broke the 3 main rules: no killing, no stealing, and no griefing. It probably didn't help that George stabbed Tommy in the first minute.
Who else is on the SMP? Honk.
Anyways, Tommy caused enough trouble on the first day, so let's not talk about it anymore. Hey, you weren't meant to show that part! Tommy's main goal was originally to take over the entire SMP. Obviously, with the characters that were going to pop up in the future, this would change very quick. The first real bit of conflict that Tommy faced was with Ponk. At the time, Ponk had no issues. He was just enjoying his time on the SMP, and one of his favorite possessions was the huge lemon tree that he built. This tree was eventually burnt down, and Tommy's home now stands in its place. The conflict started after Tommy decided to steal items from Ponk's tree. Ponk noticed that this was happening on Tommy's stream, and he quickly logged in to kill Tommy. This then triggered Tommy to kill Ponk as payback, which then spiraled, causing Dream to log in and kill Tommy. But why is this so important for the storyline of the SMP? Well, yes, it's Tommy's first ever fight, but without this fight, we may have not seen any future conflict between Dream and Tommy. I know this sounds like a bit of a stretch, but think about it. If Tommy didn't steal from Ponk, get in a fight with him, and cause Dream to get involved, then Dream and Tommy may have just remained friends, and therefore Dream wouldn't be bothered about Tommy's discs. On the topic of music discs, this is the next big thing we see Tommy get on the SMP. Mellow High and Cat are definitely Tommy's most prized possessions, and these discs were what caused the famous disc war that would last over 6 months. The first bit of conflict involving these discs was when Ponk decided to mess with Sapnap's house. Obviously, Sapnap was angry about this, and in retaliation, he decided to burn down part of Ponk's lemon tree. However, this went very wrong when Sapnap died in the fire. This then caused the fire to go out of control and burn down a large majority of the tree. This angered Ponk even more, causing him to team up with Alyssa to plan how they were going to get Sapnap back. Alyssa is now not very active on the SMP, however, she is known for coding for Munchie MC and her good friendship with Bad Boy Halo and Dream. Sapnap decided to team up with Tommy in order to fight off Alyssa and Ponk. Whilst fighting, Dream logged in to try and stop the conflict. However, this didn't work out too well. Tommy ended up being killed by Alyssa, and in return, Sapnap killed Ponk. After gaining a lot of confidence, Tommy and Sapnap then killed Dream together. Whilst they were bragging to Alyssa and Ponk about their accomplishment, Dream slipped past and stole the discs. In order for Tommy to receive his discs back, Dream demanded for one simple thing: an apology. Tommy eventually got his discs back in his possession after battling it out with Dream, and this led him to hide the discs off camera in a hill by his house, thinking they were safe. The next day, Tommy logged on to find out that Dream had blown up his entire house just to find out where Tommy had hid the discs and take them. After hours of negotiating with Dream to try and get these discs back, nearly all hope was lost. However, Tubbo, who was recently just added to the SMP, teamed up with Tommy to fight Dream in what would be the first huge battle for the discs. Dream said that in order to receive his discs back, he wanted Tommy's netherite chestplate. Tommy agreed to it, and after battling and trying to scam each other multiple times, Tommy and Tubbo logged out with both the netherite chestplate and a fake pair of discs, which they thought were the real ones. In the future, this would be marked as the day the famous disc saga started. However, we're not going to be summing up the entirety of the saga today, as it is very long. Perhaps we can do that another time, so you should totally like and subscribe. Anyways, back to the key events. Throughout the early days of the SMP, there was never really any intention of there being a storyline. However, once we saw the introduction of a new character, things began to change. Wilbur Soot. On Wilbur's first proper day on the SMP, he took Tommy to a special place in the middle of a forest called the Kamarban. Wilbur's plan was to set up an entire sweet shop where they would sell their products to the rest of the server. Eventually, this business turned into an empire, or in other words, a nation. And obviously, every nation has a name, and this one was called L'Manberg. Now, even if you're not familiar with the Dream SMP, it's highly likely that you would have heard this name mentioned before. Little did Wilbur and Tommy know that the day they created this nation was the day they set themselves up for, well, a lot of pain. L'Manberg, which now consisted of 5 members, Wilbur, Tommy, Tubbo, Eret, and Fundy, decided that they wanted to be separate from the rest of the server, and Dream did not like this idea. Once the residents of L'Manberg built up their walls, Dream decided to put a notice just on the border of the nation that read, "If you do not surrender by dawn tomorrow, we will attack. Put up your white flags to signify surrender." Dream even burnt down Tubbo's house and blew up Tommy's cook shed that was built by J-Schlatt, just to show how much strength he really had. Of course, the L'Manbergians did not surrender, and they went to war 3 days later. This battle was known as the War of Independence, and for the L'Manbergians was an extremely unsuccessful battle. They lost Eret as he betrayed them to join the other side, and Tommy had lost one of his 3 canon lives. If you're not aware, every member that joins the SMP is granted 3 canonical lives. Once all 3 lives are lost, you are dead. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Nothing fancy. However, for Tommy, it was still not over. Even though the rest of the group had lost hope, and they thought that L'Manberg was no longer an independent nation, Tommy came up with a plan. He decided that he would duel Dream. If he won, then L'Manberg would remain an independent nation. If Dream won, L'Manberg would rejoin the rest of the server, and Dream would take Melahai. Now, of course, Tommy lost the duel, and his second canon life. I know! 2 in 1 day! What a pro! Tommy was willing to give up both of his discs, his prized possessions, in order to make sure that L'Manberg remained independent. I know, what a sort of happy ending. Psych! It ain't over! It only gets worse from here! For a while, Tommy was very passive on the server. He only got into 1 small fight with Purple, but for around 2 weeks, he didn't get up to much. Approaching towards the end of this piece, Tommy decided to create a railway that would take him towards his new holiday home that he built, just outside of the spawn area. This railway eventually became a main part of the storyline, when Tommy killed Dream with his minecart, initiating the railway skirmish. During this, Tommy stole all of Dream's loot as a way of having leverage over him to try and get his discs back. After multiple attempts of getting Dream to give one of his discs back for his loot, Dream gave up and said that he has no emotional attachment to the gear, and he'll just get new stuff. Dream offered to trade Tommy his dead horse Spirit's leather for his items, but Tommy refused. Eventually, the pair traded, with Tommy giving Dream all of his items back in return for Spirit. However, there was one item missing, Dream's God Sword. After everyone had figured out that the sword had probably despawned, Tubbo went to show Tommy something off camera, and to our surprise, it was Dream's God Sword. This meant that Tommy had even more leverage, having Dream's horse and God Sword in his possession. At this point in the SMP, L'Manberg had been around for a while. Wilbur proposed a plan to Tommy. He believed that if he ran an election, it would bring people together and become one big nation under a single leader. Tommy agreed to this idea, and they settled on the name POG 2020. They imagined it would be easy, but they made it a lot harder when they told Quackity their plan, and he decided to run against them under the party Swag 2020. Later on, 2 new parties would also go up against them, under the name Coconut 2020, run by Fundy and Neochu, and Schlatt 2020, run by J-Schlatt. On the day of the elections, there was a very clear winner, POG 2020, with 45% of the vote. When all was good and Tommy thought that the plan went through, Wilbur had an announcement to make. He told everyone that the parties Swag 2020 and Schlatt 2020 struck a deal, that no matter how many votes each party got, Swag 2020 would combine their votes with Schlatt 2020. This put the party at an overall percentage of 46, meaning that they had won the election by 1% of the vote. Now, it doesn't seem too bad, right? It's just a new leader of L'Manberg. Well, you're wrong. This would impact the entire future for Wilbur, Tommy, and the fate of L'Manberg. Schlatt's first decree as new president of L'Manberg was to revoke the citizenship of Tommy and Wilbur. Now that the 2 were gone, Schlatt wanted things his way, so he got everyone to tear down the walls of L'Manberg, which reopened it to the entire SMP. Tommy knew that he wouldn't fight the rest of the SMP alone with Wilbur, so he called in someone that was powerful and had a clear plan of what to do: Technoblade. Now, it seemed like a logical decision at the time, but this would only cause Tommy more pain in the future, as Technoblade has 2 goals: to cause anarchy and destroy government. The 3 three individuals were to team together to form a group called Pogtopia, where later many other members would join them. During Tommy's time at Pogtopia, his favourite pet Henry was killed by Sapnap, and we know that he's famous for starting the Great Pet War with Fundy. The following day, he took Sapnap's favourite fish, Mars. No, Mars. The fish, goddammit! They broke out into fight, and it was obvious who the winners would be because Tommy had Techno and Dream. By the end of the night, Tommy logged out having most of Sapnap's prized possessions and his pet fish, Mars. Schlatt organised a festival for the members of the Dream SMP, and the only people who weren't invited were of course Tommy and Wilbur. Wilbur decided that it was about time to be the bad guy. He rigged the entirety of Manburg with TNT. Tommy said that if blowing up Manburg made Wilbur happy, then it doesn't matter to him. However, he did not support this idea. On the day of the festival, Tubbo gave a speech. Wilbur said that if he ended off the speech with the words, "Let the festival begin," then Manburg would be blown up. To our shock, Tubbo did end the speech with the words, and instantly, Wilbur went to locate the button that would ignite all of the TNT hidden under Manburg. During this, Tubbo was put in a box after being exposed by Schlatt for being a traitor. Schlatt demanded that Techno executed him. After giving in to peer pressure, Techno fired at Tubbo. He then began to fire out into the audience, which was when Tommy pulled in to try and fight him. At this point, Wilbur had failed to locate where he had hid the button. Techno flew away and Tommy was left to fight everyone else. After being killed by Purple, Tommy returned to Pogtopia to gather resources. Tommy was filled with anger and completely disagreed with Techno's actions. Eventually, the two had a duel to settle any disagreements. Of course, Techno won, and he left us with the famous line, "On to a new day, to a new plot." Oh, just let him say it.
On to a new day, a new plot to destroy Manburg.
You're right, Techno. It's over.
A week or so later, we would find out that most people that were part of Manburg were actually against it, and although this gave Pogtopia more power, this didn't stop the fact that Dream had made a deal with Schlatt. He said that no matter what, he would stand by Manburg, and on November 16th, they would go to war with Pogtopia. The day before the big day, we saw the finale to the pet war, and this was actually more important than you think. Sapnap took Tommy's horse, and of course, in exchange for the horse, he wanted his fish Mars back. Now, of course, this went a way we completely did not expect when Sapnap killed the horse and began to fight Tommy after he refused to hand over the fish. Since there was an upcoming war that was less than 24 hours away, the two agreed to duel. If Tommy won, he would get all of Sapnap's armor, and if Sapnap won, he would get Mars back. After a quick loss from Tommy, he made a proposition to Sapnap that Mars gets released into the ocean in order to finally end all the pet wars between them. Sapnap gave consent to this, and the two agreed to become allies in the war that was coming the next day. The dawn of 16th. It was the big day, and Wilbur didn't fail to remind Tommy that he'd blow up Manburg if everything didn't go to plan. After getting geared up and marching to Eret's eastern tower, they became under fire by the Manburgians below. Pogtopia continued to siege Manburg to the point where they had Dream surrounded. Dream had clearly surrendered, and he requested to talk to Wilbur in private. This led to him announcing that Schlatt was a coward and that he was no longer willing to side with him. Everyone was led into the Caravan where Schlatt was without gear and drunk. After listening to him ramble on about lifting weights for 5 minutes, I wish I was joking, he suddenly died from a heart attack. Wilbur then asked everyone to gather at the podium. There needed to be a new leader that took charge, so he named Tommy the new president of Manburg. As much as Tommy was delighted that Wilbur appointed him president, he rejected the offer, saying that he still had unfinished business with Dream, referring to the discs, of course. Tommy then handed back the presidency to Wilbur, who then handed it over to Tubbo. Tubbo began by taking the festival decorations down, and as they did that, Filzer, who was previously not whitelisted, joined the game. Techno then killed Tubbo, saying that he didn't spend weeks planning a revolution for them to just go and put a new government in place immediately. At this stage, everyone was questioning what Techno was doing, and also where Wilbur had gone. These questions were answered seconds later when TNT began to explode, exposing Wilbur under the podium with Filzer, who was holding a sword. Out of anger, Phil killed Wilbur, and Techno spawned multiple withers, causing even more destruction to Manburg. Tommy's exile was probably his lowest moment in the entire of the SMP so far. After burning down George Not Found's home with Rambu, who had literally just joined the SMP on that same day, Dream decided to build obsidian walls around the border of Manburg. He demanded that the country put Tommy in exile, but instead, he was put up for trial. After a cabinet meeting and a vote for the fate of Tommy, Tubbo agreed with Dream, saying that Tommy being exiled is the best decision for the nation. So that's what he did. He went to be all alone, miles away from the Dream SMP with no one to talk to or visit him. Apart apart from Dream. During Tommy's time in exile, Dream made him feel alone, and he used that as a way to manipulate him. Tommy was left feeling as if nobody cared for him when he organized a beach party that no one showed up to, when actually Dream sabotaged the invites so people weren't aware of the event. After being cooped up in exile for so long, he realized that he didn't need to listen to what Dream said, so he left Lockwoodshire and headed towards Technoblade's base, knowing that Dream wouldn't be able to trace him. When Techno originally discovered that Tommy was hiding in his home, he struck a deal with him. He said that in order for Tommy to stay with him, he needed to assist Techno with his revenge on L'Manberg or leave, and of course the two decided to form an alliance. Tommy had now been in exile for an entire month, and it was about time for some revolution. The Green Festival, which was hosted by L'Manberg, was planned as a secret plot to kill Dream. This was quickly changed when the community house, which was the oldest building on the server, was revealed as blown up. Dream began to build obsidian walls around L'Manberg for a second time. He explained that Tommy messed up, and it was in fact him that blew up the house. Dream tried to pressure Tubbo to give the final disc Malahide to him, after Tommy gave it to Tubbo out of trust. Tubbo was eventually interrupted by Tommy, who was invisible, and they started an argument which resulted in more fighting. To prevent things from getting any worse, Tommy told Tubbo to give the disc to Dream. Tommy realized that he was going down a path that he didn't want to follow, and he told Techno that he wasn't going to help him anymore. After Dream laughing in Tubbo's face and saying how terrible of a president he is, he asked Techno if he had any withers, stating that everyone had around 21 hours to prepare before L'Manberg was destroyed, or in other words, chunk-errored. It was Doomsday, and this day would shape the entire future of the SMP. Can I just say how proud I am of that? You're gonna cut this out before I finish the sentence, aren't you? No, please! The final preparations were made, and Phil, Technoblade, and Dream were ready to destroy a nation. After showing up to L'Manberg with a large amount of dogs, the L'Manbergians attempted to attack Techno, but instead they were distracted by Techno's dogs that were all eventually killed. Techno then ordered Phil to spawn 14 withers, and this distracted everyone even more. With withers everywhere and TNT raining down from the skies, Tommy and Techno began to fight. After all of the fighting had settled down and Tommy and Techno had finished their multiple screaming competitions, it was clear that Technoblade had come out on top once again, leaving L'Manberg and everyone else in ruins. This event caused L'Manberg to become an abandoned nation, and as I described, a huge chunk error for an egg to feed off. After 6 long months of Tommy fighting for 2 very important things, today was the day that it all finally came to an end. The Disc War finale. Dream burned down Tommy's house and left a message explaining to meet him with Tubbo on January 20th if he wanted his discs back. After traveling a great distance, Tommy and Tubbo found themselves on top of an extreme acacia mountain, and behold, Dream was there too, in full netherite armor. To taunt the two, Dream decided to build an obsidian tower upwards and play Malahide. Whilst Tommy was distracting Dream, Tubbo snuck around the back to try and take the disc, but Dream noticed and began to get in a fight with the two. During the fight, Tommy managed to get one of the discs out of Dream's hands, but whilst doing this, Tubbo was taken hostage. Dream demanded to give the disc back in exchange for Tubbo's life. Tubbo said that Tommy should keep the disc, but he didn't listen and instead handed it back to Dream. Dream instantly laughed it off and told the two that they were fake discs all along. He then revealed the other fake disc, throwing them both on the floor before blowing them up. This really showed how powerful Dream was in the situation, and how powerful he had always been. He then admitted to blowing up the community house, and explained that he did it as a way of getting Tubbo to hand over the disc. Dream led the two down the mountain to a small room with a black stone pad on the floor. This pad was actually an elevator that descended down into a large bunker, which contained a nether portal and the 2 real discs. Dream said that the discs were all Tommy's, but in exchange for them, Tubbo's final can of life would be taken. Obviously, Tommy refused the offer, which then led Dream to show them the rest of the vault, which contained items of incredible value to other members of the server. Dream then told Tommy that he was going to kill Tubbo, and gave them a final chance to say goodbye to each other. However, puns emerged from the nether portal with other members of the SMP to defend Tommy and Tubbo, who quickly ran for cover behind the group, grabbing the 2 discs and putting them in their ender chests. Now being reminiscent of how Dream treated Tommy in exile, Tommy dug a hole and demanded that he threw all of his items inside, which then led Tommy to jump in the hole and take everything. Dream told Tommy that he wasn't really going to kill him, and it was just a bit of fun. However, Tommy didn't listen and killed Dream with the axe of peace, not once, but twice, taking him down to 1 can of life. Dream quickly cried out, revealing that he had received a special book from J-Schlatt that can tell you how to bring people back from the dead. Awesome Dude then came forward and said that instead of killing Dream, he should be locked inside Pandora's Vault, which was a prison constructed by the command of Dream. Tommy agreed to this, and even said that he would visit Dream himself. Tommy wanted to move on, but he couldn't seem to get Dream off his mind, and after multiple visits to him, he decided that he was going to visit Dream for the final time and make peace with him. But little did we know that this wasn't going to be a short and easy visit. Once in the cell with Dream, he explained that it was his final time visiting. Dream tried to convince him that he had changed and that he was a better man now, but after all the traumatic experiences that Tommy went through, he still wasn't willing to forgive him. Once Tommy was saying his final goodbyes and preparing to leave, they heard TNT explosions outside of the prison. To this day, we still don't know what caused the explosions, but there are high suspicions that they were somehow linked to Rambo and his Enderwalk state. When Tommy cried for Sam to let him out, Sam responded saying that he would have to stay put in the cell for up to a week, and we already knew that Tommy signed a contract before going in that said if the prison were to go into lockdown, he could be trapped for up to 7 days. It had been a week since Sam last visited Tommy and Dream. You could tell that Tommy was going crazy, cooped up in the cell, as he was literally singing Road Trip by Dream.
Now that innocence is paved with memories.
Sam arrived at the cell and told Tommy that he was not ready to have him leave, meaning that he'd be extending the time in the contract, which was essentially breaking it. At this point, Tommy grew angry and began to blame Dream for everything that had happened. After punching Dream a few times and even claiming that the revival book he talked about wasn't real, Dream lost his temper and began to punch Tommy until he was down to 2 hearts remaining. Tommy, still angry, continued on to say that he knew Schlatt was dead and that he'd seen his corpse. Now flowing with anger, Dream punched him to death, taking his final canon life. I just wanted to take this moment to say thank you so much for 1,000 subscribers. It's honestly mental that I've posted once this year and gained 400, and in 2020 I got 150. I promise that big videos like this one will be coming out consistently and very soon. So please, if you could just give the video a like, that would help out a ton, and stay tuned. But wait, I think I'm getting some intel here. What was that? Yeah, I know Tommy died. Wait, say that again? He was revived by Dream? What the fuck?